It's Talking Pints, and I'm joined by Ingrid Newkirk, founder of PETA. Welcome to the programme, Ingrid.
Cheers.
Cheers. Now, I've been a long-time campaigner. I getting on for 30 years. My political campaign's about the European Union. You've been going longer than me. And PETA, this organisation that we do hear quite a lot about, you've been going since 1980.
Yes.
What motivated you to first get going with this campaign?
Well, I cared about animals. I was born in Surrey, and we had a dog in the house, and I thought of the dog as a friend or a brother or something like that. If anybody had hurt him, I would have been angry. Mm-hmm. But over time, I saw different things. I found a pig who was suffering abandoned on a farm, and I was a law enforcement officer. So I took the pig to the vet, and on the way there I was thinking what I was having for supper, and I realised that I had defrosted some pork chops, and it occurred to me that I'd never been to a slaughterhouse, but they can't be very pleasant places. And I then investigated, found how ghastly they are, found out about factory farming, and thought, nobody knows about this, and I care about animals and I'm discovering it. It would be really good to have a group and to show other people what's going on so they could make choices. Because we're oblivious to most cruelties. We don't know about dog fur coming from China.
I mean, we are. I mean, as this country, far more than other countries in Europe, in my experience, we are a nation of animal lovers. We are incredibly kind to our pets. You don't generally see strays wandering all over the place as you would do in many European towns and cities. Look, I think this debate, this conversation about food, where it comes from, I mean, yes, of course, that's an ethical choice that individuals make and have always made. But I just wonder, for you, this is basically about us becoming completely vegan, isn't it?
It would be nice, because, I mean, if you care about animals, you go to Vietnam, they eat monkeys and they eat dogs, and we're appalled, as we should be. But if you go to an abattoir here or in any other country, you find chickens and pigs and cows. They're absolutely petrified. They're hung up usually by one leg. They have all the weight on their bodies dangling. They're in misery, and they have their throats slit. Often they're not stunned, or they're not properly stunned if they're stunned. And I don't think the average person who would be like me, who grew up as a meat eater's meat eater, eating my way basically through the animal kingdom, would go and see that and then think, oh, that's all right, I don't care about it.
What about fish?
What about fish?
Well,
they're funny-looking animals.
In Ingrid's world, we're not going to have steaks. The Sunday roast's out the window. Can we eat fish in Ingrid's world?
No, we can eat other things that taste like the Sunday roast. I love steak tartare. I love all these sort of things, these very meaty things, liver and onions. And I've changed.
So do I.
But I have changed because I have found that I can eat foods that are very tasty, that I do like. I don't have to sacrifice anything. But I don't want to be cruel to animals because I was raised to think that cruelty to animals was wrong, and most of us are, and that you should be kind. And so the whole group is saying, look, it's not so narrow as you think. It doesn't mean just don't kick the dog or starve the horse. It goes beyond that into these places where most people never visit and never see.
No, I understand the slaughterhouse point, and I think most people don't want to know about it, and I think that's probably true. But where I start to sort of really, and I agree, it's your choice, and as it should be mine, and that's in a free society how we should live. But, you basically wouldn't have us keeping pet dogs and cats either, would you?
I wouldn't have us breeding them. We've got this situation now at Crufts, where one of the winning dogs is one of what we call breathing impaired breeds. They're pugs, they're French bulldogs, they're all these little dogs who've been bred to have basically no nose. And you don't even think about that until someone points it out.
No, I mean, that is an extreme example, but, you know...
They're everywhere, Nigel.
No,
they're absolutely
but I mean, there are
everywhere.
millions of us that keep pet dogs and pet cats, and we find the animal rights extremists.
That's
fine with you. With Animal Rising, they'd stop even that.
Well, the way I would agree with them is that we have shelters and refuges, like Battersea Dog's Home. They're full of animals. They're overflowing. They can't find enough homes. And so if we're breeding or we're buying from Korean puppy mills, sending dogs into this country as if we need them...
No, look, there are bad practices. I
Yes.
get there are bad practices. I understand that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see them either. Now, you famously have, you know, stripped off all over the world with your protests.
Don't tell people that when I'm 74.
Middle-class girl from Surrey, you know.
Yeah.
But you've also given support to groups like the Animal Liberation Front, who are violent, who are threatening, who have used tactics akin to terrorism. And my big question for you is this. We know protests can be effective. You know, the suffragettes had a protest.
Yes.
Now, albeit the First World War and munitions factories really got them the vote more quickly. But they were campaigning to have a voice in the democratic process. What worries me about you guys, and particularly the Animal Liberation Front, is you're saying we don't want to engage in a democratic process.
Oh, fiddlesticks.
We will protest. We will cause you inconvenience, which many groups aligned to you do, and we want to impose our will on you. And Ingrid, put this to you. You're very well intentioned, and I believe that 100%.
Thank you.
Of course you are, but I worry that what you're doing is fundamentally anti-democratic.
Absolutely not. I think what you're doing, the mistake is you're lumping everybody together. And there are as many tactics as there are groups or individuals. We're all very different. But you talked about, I think it's Emma Davidson who ran onto Epsom 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're giving her a blue plaque now because, or they're, honouring her in this way. She was fighting as a suffragette who wanted women's rights. She was derided. Society didn't want it.
But she wanted. She wanted a vote.
She did.
And she said voting matters. And you guys, I feel, or many of your groups, say, to hell we're voting. We just want to impose our will on you. It's very different to a suffragette.
Now you have another group that wants to impose their will on us, which is to say, shut up, go away. We don't want to hear it. We love our dirty old habits, and we don't want to change. But we're in negotiations with so many corporations. We are talking to people and saying it's your choice, but we wish to show you cruelty that will appall you. Now, that's a democratic way of going about things. We do demonstrate because there's free speech, we should be out there saying,
I
don't
mind you demonstrating. I don't mind that. I just don't want people walking down the roads and tying themselves to gantries.
That's a different organisation.
I know it is. It may be unfair to lump you in with all of them, but they really do annoy me. Ingrid, look, I see the sincerity of who you are and what you are. And I have to say, I found this conversation with PETA a lot more pleasant and a lot more grown up than I've had with other organisations in recent times. I want to say thank you for coming on the programme.
Thank you very much, and here's the kindness.
Thank you.